Alright guys, welcome to my fight night, Emmett vs Vallejos full card breakdown. YouTube gave me about 10 errors trying to start this stream, so please do confirm you can hear me when possible. I am noticing that it's also already lagging, so this is not ideal. We hear you? Okay, great. I don't know what YouTube is on right now. It is really throwing a fit. Okay, as long as you guys can hear me, that's good. Alright, how are you guys doing? We will start with the recap from last card, and then we'll get into a few questions, then go on from there. Thoughts on Gregory Rodriguez slamming Ferreira? We'll get to that. Hey, Piera Rodriguez. Alright, we'll just jump into the recap, and then we will go to some questions. So, starting with Bolaji Fernandez, this is kind of what I was concerned with Fernandez. Like, he is the better fighter. He's just not very experienced, and his defense just isn't great. The problem with Fernandez is he's not young. Like, if this guy was like 25 right now, or something along those lines, I'd be like, okay, by the time he's 28, 30, he'll be pretty good. I think he just got into combat sports too late. He's only had now 7 fights, so it's unfortunate, but I just don't think he's going to go very far. Diarg Nurgaje versus Rafael Tobias was probably the most, not the most, but one of the most surprising outcomes on the card. It was a weird fight. Tobias did not show up like he knew he was fighting a southpaw, which was very strange. He also just didn't do most of the things he did in his past fight. Like, he did not fight behind his jab, he didn't really shoot takedowns until later in the fight. It was very strange. That being said, Nurgaje kind of got away with winning by cheating, because the ref made a lot of mistakes. When Tobias had the clinch and was going to go for the takedown and Nurgaje just kneed him in the groin, the ref decided to split them after Tobias recovered instead of giving him the position back, which was definitely problematic. And then Nurgaje hard yanked on the fence to stop a takedown in round 2, and he was very outclassed on the ground, so that between the two of them, I do think it saved him the fight, so kind of unfortunate there. But yeah, Tobias, however you say it, just not what people, including me, expected him to be. Sumadarji versus Jesus Aguilar. Pretty much what I expected, right? Sumadarji's footwork, his striking on the outside is just way too good for Aguilar. Aguilar fights well against people who have to kind of brawl with him, or people who are going to shoot takedowns. One of the two, he can either catch you in the guillotine, or he could just catch you with a hard overhand. If you just move around on the outside and pick at him, there's like pretty much nothing he can do. So, I guess good win for Sumadarji. It would have been nice to see him push a little more heavily for the finish, but he tends to be really a point fighter. Khan 2.0 versus Durden. I am kind of surprised Khan couldn't find the finish, because it looked like pretty much anything he did hurt Durden, but just didn't stay on the feet long enough. Like, was very insistent on keeping this in the grappling and winning in the grappling. Cody Durden is just not UFC level. He's just not good at anything, and he has a glass chin and not even great cardio. So I assume he's definitely getting cut now. I don't know why he wasn't cut earlier, in all honesty. Khan 2.0, it was not the cleanest performance, to say the least. He definitely had a lot of fouls. He is good, though. So we'll see how far he can go. He doesn't have the best fight IQ, but like, the skills are definitely there. Alberto Montes versus Ricky Tercios was definitely a good debut fight for Montes, because Tercios was going to be that type of guy who was going to test if Montes' striking is clean enough, because Tercios immediately put the pressure on. So we saw Montes took a little bit to get into the fight, but once he found his rhythm, his striking was very clean. And of course, as soon as you try to shoot on him, you're kind of screwed, because his anaconda is ridiculous. It's like, there's very few fighters who specialize in anacondas, if any, besides him, and his is probably like the cleanest I have seen, in all honesty. Dante Johnson versus Cody Brundage. I honestly had Cody Brundage winning the fight, but it was very close, so I'm not going to say this was like a massive robbery or anything. But yeah, Dante Johnson's a full-blown fraud, and I was saying that last week for those of you who are here, but he's just not a good fighter. He's just so reliant on like hook spamming. He beat really low-level heavyweights that just had no idea how to fight. Unless he somehow makes a massive leap in abilities, he's screwed the next time he fights someone who's like a step above Cody Brundage, because that was just an embarrassing performance. Cody Garbrandt versus Zhao Long was one of the weirder fights we've seen in a while, of course, with the 2-point deductions. I will say this. I don't think I can pick Cody Garbrandt to win a fight again. Even though I am not upset with him getting this win, right? Like rounds 1 and 3 were both close. So I think there's definitely justification to give him the fight. This was a tailor-made matchup for him. Zhao Long has garbage defense. Like Cody should have knocked him out, or at least tried to knock him out, maybe get like more damage off and not be able to find the finish. Cody just didn't go for anything. Now, I'm not as mad as most people are for him running around in round 3, because after you get groin kicked twice like that, I can't imagine he felt comfortable enough to trade. So if he thought that he won the fight, I understand just moving around on the outside, because like there's not much you could do if you're like completely incapacitated at that point. But not doing more in round 1 and round 2 is kind of ridiculous in this matchup. So Cody just doesn't seem like he has it anymore. And it's not even like the skills aren't there, because you could see when he went, he was landing damage. The problem is that I don't know if it's his coaches or its own confidence, but he's just not throwing. Like he will wait, then throw like one combination. He'll land something, and then he'll back off and wait another like 2 minutes before he throws the next combination. So whatever happens with Cody feels like a mental or coaching fall off, not even like a, oh, he's washed type of thing. Like he's still there. He's just not using it for whatever reason. Anyways, Gregor Rodriguez versus Bruno Ferreira. I do wish we had a little more to analyze here, because this was pretty much nothing. But it did show that both of these guys have really bad defense, so whoever's moving backwards was going to have a massive advantage here. I am surprised Bruno pushed forward so confidently, because this is one of those fights of whoever lands first wins, because neither are like the most durable and both have one-shot knockout power. And when you move forwards without defense, it's a lot easier to get clipped than if you move backwards up without defense. So bad game plan from Bruno here. Fair play for Rodriguez to capitalize. Yeah, I mean, can't make any real technical analysis here beyond that, because the fight was 1.5 minutes and had 4 strikes total. Anyways, moving on to Dober versus Michael Johnson. Here, I mean, to be a little bit arrogant for a moment, I am very happy I read this fight perfectly cleanly. I did say Michael Johnson would win round 1, and then in round 2, Drew Dober was fine as timing, and as Johnson moved back in a straight line, Dober would catch him with a lunging left, and we saw that happen to exact fruition. So yeah, I am glad I read that one well, exactly what I expected for this fight. As you guys know, I'm not the biggest fan of Drew Dober because of the whole Prepelec situation, but fair play, he got it done. This was going to be a good matchup for him. In terms of what happened with the line movement, I don't know, in all honesty. I know that Dober became a favorite out of nowhere. It didn't seem like Johnson was injured, so I don't know what caused it at all, in all honesty, because it's not what you would imagine for line movement like that. So yeah, I don't know what to say. Maybe something will come out at some point. When that happened, I was thinking about you saying that. Thanks, yeah. I think Johnson didn't do a fight camp. That would be weird, because then that would come out earlier. And plus, he was scheduled to do a camp fairly recently, so I don't feel like that would matter anyway. But anyways, so Rosas versus Rob Font. I mean, okay. In all fairness, right? Rosas' cardio looked better. In the past, he wasn't really able to wrestle for 3 rounds. He very clearly did that. However, I can't say it was an impressive performance because he did nothing beyond wrestle. I mean, his wrestling looked good. His control on the grounds looked not great because Font's got up 16 times or so. But, I mean, it showed cardio improvements, I suppose. Rosas, if he can't control Font a little more than that, I have a hard time seeing him doing well against like the top 10 from here on forwards. So it's going to be tough going for him if he gets at all of a harder matchup. There's really not much you can say like positive about it, in all honesty. Kyo versus RDR. Okay, so you guys know what I think about RDR. I will give him a little bit of praise here, right? His cardio looks better, for sure. He definitely worked on it a lot. He didn't gas out in like 5 minutes. His conditioning was better. He looked stronger and so on. He definitely fixed a lot of the physical aspects of what he could do. Still got 30-27, still got rocked several times and probably almost finished once or twice. But he did look better. So I do have to give him some credit. On the other hand, I don't know how Kyo didn't finish him, and I don't think it reflects very well on Kyo. Because when you're landing clean multiple times on the guy, and like he's not defending anything, I don't know how you don't put him away. So in terms of like my thoughts on the fight and what I'm thinking going forwards, I think RDR is a little better than I may have given him credit for, even though I still have a pretty low opinion. And Kyo is a little worse than I guess I was thinking, even though I didn't have a crazy high opinion of him either. So yeah, ended up being a closer fight, even though I did think it was a 30-27. And that is what it is. I can't see Kyo really becoming a top contender after seeing that performance or like winning a title fight or anything like that. RDR is probably on his way out, in all honesty, because there's not many people in the UFC he can beat, and he's on the older side also. There are definitely a few he can beat, but like I could see them giving him to CLD after CLD very likely beats Dolidze, and RDR could beat CLD, right? Because CLD is insistent on spinning every 10 seconds. I could see RDR getting a random back take, but I could also see RDR getting knocked out in like 10 seconds, and if he does, then he's just done. After that, Kyo the worst fighting nerd? Yeah, 100%. Kyo has no future, unless he improves on that. Yeah, I agree. Kyo gas is pretty quick and could have finished RDR multiple times. I don't know why he didn't just go for it. Yeah, it was not a good performance. So there's not much I can say for that, in all honesty. All right. What does this stand for? This performance of the ninth bonus. TDP cooks Kyo, in my opinion. Yeah, I agree. Okay, so now the other semi-surprising, not too surprising outcome of the night. Oliveira versus Holloway. So I'm going to approach this from two sides. There's the whole question of how good a performance of this, why did this happen? Then there's the question of like, this was a BMF title fight, and what are my thoughts on that, because everyone was asking that as well. In terms of the pure analytical performance, we saw, I did a reel on this a while ago, that Holloway is really good at defending single and double legs, but if you get a body lock on him, he just goes down. And Oliveira heavily exploited that, which I was not expecting, to be honest. Oliveira just pressured, got to the body lock immediately, and just slammed him down every time. I think he also like landed a throw on him later in the fight and so on. So he was definitely using Holloway's length against him, just get in close, get something, and get him to the ground immediately. Now, I was surprised that Holloway's submission defense was that good. But on the feet even, like Oliveira was landing 3 times harder, and even though the fight wasn't on the feet for that long, like there was still a gap there as well. I do think that with a lot of these BJJ guys, they really hunt the submission and they forget that there are other ways to end the fight on the ground. If Oliveira just started blasting elbows, I think he actually would have TKO'd Max, because he landed a few that definitely had impact, but just didn't really go back to that. So while dominant performance from Oliveira, I do think he could have found the finish. It is unfortunate that he didn't pursue it, but I do kind of understand. In terms of like people comparing this fight to the Chimaev and the Islam fights, I heavily disagree with that, because it says 4 submission attempts here for Charles. I feel like it was more like 8, in all honesty. It's just Holloway was doing a very good job at defending. Islam and Chimaev didn't make any attempts to end the fight whatsoever. Like Oliveira was going for full-blown submissions. Islam, the furthest he went was like sort of put his hands in the position for a Darce and not even pursue it. So I think that it was a lot more of an aggressive and finish attempt heavy performance on theirs, and therefore I don't despise it, even if it wasn't the most entertaining thing I've seen, in all honesty. BMF belt is still just a gimmick belt. It's an MMA fight at the end of the day. Yeah, that is true. Max looks very chinny, I can't lie. Yeah, his durability is just gone. So, sorry if someone asked you, but did Raul's cardio impress you? It seemed like, I'm not sure what you were saying after that, but yes, I do think his cardio improvements did impress me. Oracle, do you think Charles beats Arman in a rematch? Yes, I do. Thoughts on Oliveira's future? Yeah, I mean, Oliveira is still, in my opinion, the clear second best in the division. So I don't know what we do with that going forwards. I think that Oliveira could keep beating these younger guys. Like a BSD fight could be interesting, but I feel like Charles is the better grappler, so that could be a problem for BSD unless he keeps it standing the whole time. And even on the feet, Charles is so ridiculously dangerous. So I don't know what they're going to do, because I know that the UFC was expecting Holloway to win this. Oliveira, I mean, you could even argue maybe he should just move up at this point, but it's a tough situation. Max or Gamrot? I'd probably pick Max over Gamrot. Rematch versus Ilya, we will get our get back. I mean, this performance makes Ilya look much better, because everyone was saying when Oliveira fought Ilya, like, oh, Oliveira got deep on the underhooks. If Ilya was fighting a better wrestler, he might have been screwed there. But like, No, I think, genuinely speaking, Oliveira is one of the best wrestlers in this weight class now, and this fight really showed it. The fact that he couldn't get Ilya down there says a lot for Ilya's takedown defense, and it makes me even more confident in him in a fight against Arman or Islam, because I don't see what they could do to him in any respect of the game now. Arman or Max? I'd still lean Max, because again, Arman's just going to shoot doubles against Max, and Max is much better at dealing with those. Oracle, what's your thoughts on Max's future? Max's future is tough now, I'm not going to lie, because I feel like someone like BSD could probably beat Holloway, which might sound weird, but BSD is 100% just going to get to the body lock or get to the clinch and just look to throw him down. And BSD, while not as technical as Charles, seems like he's a lot stronger. And on the ground, will just go for the ground and pound instead of the submission. Oracle, I'm growing bored with UFC. The past 2 years have gotten progressively worse. I'm thinking of switching over to KFC and dirty boxing. I mean, you can always add stuff. I don't think it's getting... Okay, I could kind of see it getting worse a little bit, but I still think there are entertaining fights. It's just not as consistent as it used to be. Should Max go back to 145? I honestly don't think he can. I think at this point he's put on enough weight that he's just never going to be able to make 145 as he ages, or the cut would be so damaging to him that he would get knocked out by nothing. Oracle, why is this the first time Max has been grappled? Because most of the people who were trying to grapple him, first of all, weren't amazing submission grapplers like Oliveira is, and second, all chased the single or the double leg. Very few of them went to the body lock, and when they did, which Volkanovski did a few times, they got the takedown. That is important to note. Khabib or Max, Islam or Max, who wins? I would actually still take Max over Khabib, because Khabib was just going to grind on the single leg the entire fight. And I don't think he would have gotten that easily. It would have taken him a lot of energy to get Max down, and I don't think he could have done that for 5 rounds. BSD won't throw leg kicks or actually pressure as hard as Charles. I actually think he'll pressure more than Charles, because BSD is completely unafraid to absorb damage, unlike Charles at this point, because Charles' durability isn't quite there. BSD is much more durable than Charles. BSD literally is just going to walk forward, swing hooks, try to push Max to the fence, and then take him down. On the ground, I agree that BSD is definitely not as good a grappler as Charles, but he's just going to hold position and smash elbows. He's not going to go for transitions like Oliveira will, which is why I do think that he would get it done. Oliveira, do you still think BSD has a good chance against Oliveira? I think that he still has a chance, but I would probably pick Oliveira. How are you doing, Oracle? I'm getting a fight book. Congratulations on that. I'm doing all right. How are you doing? MMA Shay said Arman beats Max. I mean, I understand why he thinks that. I just don't think so personally. Max saying you have to be winning to the fight to point to the canvas and still pointing down despite being dominated will become a meme. Yeah, it will. And like, I don't think he was thinking, so I don't blame him, but yeah, that will become a meme. Oracle, do you train or just an avid fan that understands the game? Yes, I do train. I don't train as much as I used to because of medical stuff, but I do still train, yes. Oracle, who does Max even beat at lightweight? I mean, most of them, right? Like, it's not like he beats no one now. He's still going to beat the majority of the people. It's just there are some really bad matchups, and I don't think he could get close to a belt. All right. I'm going to get into the breakdown because we've gotten a little late, but I'll go back to questions afterwards as well. So, starting with Piera Rodriguez versus Sam Hughes. Sam Hughes is a very pace-oriented fighter. She's just going to pressure forwards constantly when she's able to, as long as she's not eating too much damage. She'll just continue to do so. She will throw relatively high volume and put together combinations when possible. She doesn't have the greatest defense on the feet, so she does absorb a lot of strikes. She's kind of one of those fighters where the pace has to become her defense, which can work poorly against good strikers. She's, generally speaking, aiming to get the fight to the ground. She'll go to a large variety of takedowns, no real consistency there. On the ground, she is extremely aggressive, and she will look for a finish in any way possible. She will start ground and pound, passes to a crucifix, go for the back and choke, pretty much anything. Generally speaking, though, she relies on her higher level of competition gassing out. She tends to drop round 1, come back rounds 2 and 3, and win the decision there. Rodriguez is well-rounded, but tends to lean more on the wrestling as well. On the feet, she moves on the outside and uses jabs and kicks a lot. When she does get her timing, she'll enter with a combination of hooks, switching targets between the body and the head mid-combo. Her takedowns are mainly double leg entries, but she will switch up to the trip partway through the takedown sometimes. She is mostly control-oriented on the ground, unlike Hughes. And she definitely doesn't really have the best control. People tend to be able to stand up on her. Every once in a while, she'll get a takedown and hold it for the entire round, but it's not typical for her in all honesty. For those of you who don't know, this is a rematch from a few years ago. I don't feel like anything has happened. Like, Rodriguez is still the cleaner fighter, and Hughes is still the higher pace fighter, or like better cardio fighter, I guess you would say. I don't think that Rodriguez is going to gas heavily though, so I'm going to lean towards Rodriguez to win by decision, but obviously WMMA at this level isn't the most reliable to say the least. Moving on to Elijah Smith versus SuYoung You. So, Elijah Smith is a wrestler, technically speaking, but he does have extremely fast striking on the feet as well. He will throw the jab and kicks on the outside, and then use his speed to counterbox with combinations. He feints and stance switches a lot to give a bunch of different looks, which does tend to trip up his opponents and make them more tentative to engage. The biggest problem for him on the feet is that his jab definitely can get predictable, and then he can get caught in longer counter combinations if he enters and doesn't back out perfectly, which does happen a fair amount. His takedowns are mainly fast blast double legs. On the ground, he will use ground and pound either to end the fight itself or open up back takes and try to look for a submission from there. His cardio is definitely a little bit suspect. He has slowed down in round 3 of fights when it does get there. In both his Contender Series fight and his Vince Morales fight, it happens. Yu is also a wrestler, but he uses a karate stance on the feet instead, which is definitely an interesting combination. When striking, he generally wants to slow the pace and just float around on the outside. He has a very high striking defense percentage, mainly just by controlling distance and using like the threat of the takedowns. He continues to threaten the takedown nonstop just by like reaching down for your leg randomly, like mid combination, when on the outside, etc., just to constantly keep the thought in his opponent's head. He mainly throws calf kicks on the outside or will jump in with like a jab or karate style 1-2 and such. He has a much larger variety of takedowns than Smith does. He'll go to like doubles, singles, trips, throws, pretty much anything in the wrestling handbook. But on the ground, he does very little damage in all honesty and is mainly just looking to rack up some control. Smith should have the more impact on the feet, and I don't really think that you can out-wrestle him for at least 2 rounds, so I think Smith is going to have the bigger moments here and take a decision because of that. All right, moving on to Bia Mesquita versus She changed her first name, so that's confusing me. But Rendon, whatever. So Bia is a high-level BJJ practitioner, arguably one of the best in WBJJ history. Like, she beat Mackenzie Dern in BJJ, for example. On the feet, she's definitely underdeveloped, but she does know this, so she mainly floats around on the outside and will throw a few jabs, mainly just so that you can't like focus on defending a takedown. She'll get the fight to the ground pretty much any way necessary. She has a variety of takedowns she'll go to, and could just pull guard if she really needed to, in all honesty as well. Her grip strength is pretty crazy. So whenever she gets contact for the takedown, it is very hard to shake her. I remember for her first fight, I was a little bit concerned that she was just going to not have the wrestling to get the fight to the ground and be lost on the feet. But if you see how she was getting those takedowns, it was definitely impressive. On the ground, she'll use aggressive ground and pound to open up the position for the submission, but she also seems fine with getting a TKO, so I wouldn't be shocked if she got that as well. Rendon is a control-oriented wrestler. On the feet, she paws with the jab and throws out slow overhands. She wants to pressure a lot so she can get to the takedowns. She will mainly shoot on double legs, but will also just push you to the fence if she can't get it immediately. If she can get the fight down, she will land a little bit of ground and pound so the ref doesn't stand them up, but nothing crazy most of the time. The quote-unquote controversial part of this fight is that Rendon has perfect takedown defense so far. No one has even really gotten particularly close on a takedown on her. But it's a very different level than Bia, even in the wrestling, in my opinion. So I am going to say Bia gets another submission here. I think once she gets one takedown, and she could shoot 5-10 times if she needs to get that takedown, the fight is effectively going to be over from there. Like, you're not getting up if you get taken down by Bia. So this should be a first, maybe second round submission, in all honesty. And I do hope that Bia continues to get finishes, because we need the diversity and finishes in WMA here. All right, moving on to Lacerda versus Hedger Sosa. So even though a lot of people don't know these guys, I would pay attention for this fight because it is very likely going to be one of the most fun fights in the night if it's not an early finish, and it'll still be fun even if it is, in all honesty. So starting with Lacerda, Lacerda is an extremely aggressive fighter, mainly in the grappling, but even on the feet. On the feet, he's going to just bomb random strikes. He'll throw like big hooks and stuff like that as he moves forwards. Okay. Are we still connected? Let's just randomly refresh. I'm going to wait a second for you guys to confirm if this is still good. Yes? Okay, we're good. All right. So where was I? Okay, yeah. So on the feet, Lacerda's just going to throw like massive hooks and stuff while moving forwards. Just heavy pressure, not the most technical, but can land heavy if he does land. He'll get the fight to the grounds any way whatsoever. He does not care if he ends on his back, so he'll go for suicide throws sometimes. He'll just wrap up the body lock and just throw you to the grounds and not care if you reverse it in the meantime, and so on. When the fight is on the ground, he is going to continuously just chase submissions from anywhere and open up with ground and pound. So like he'll be off of his back and go for like the deepest armbar out of having no catch whatsoever. He really does not care. He's just going to constantly chase stuff. He will pull guillotines. He will start to get up and then drag you back down with a guillotine. It's like he'll chase submissions pretty much anytime, anywhere, any place. He definitely does gas out, and he doesn't really have much of a concept of defense, in all honesty. He is one of those fighters that is just pure offense. He definitely can be inconsistent. Some fights he does push the pace well. Other fights he does wait around too much, and it becomes strange. Like his fight against, what's his name? Cody Stamen. He just didn't do anything the whole fight. I'm going to assume that he had an injury or something was off, because he hasn't done that in any other fight in his career, but it does happen. Okay, so moving on to Sosa. So Sosa is actually very similar to Lacerda in certain ways. He's extremely aggressive. He will close the distance immediately, throw powerful combinations to look to get a takedown from there. On the ground, he is very aggressive at landing ground and pound. Then he'll go for a submission if it opens up, but he's not as submission focused as Lacerda is. He really just wants to hit you until something happens. His defense is also basically offense. He is not going to give his opponent any time to react to anything whatsoever. I think that Lacerda is just the slightly cleaner, slightly younger, and slightly better cardio version of Lacerda, in all honesty. So I think he's going to get a TKO here, and I think it's going to be slightly later into the fight, maybe round 2 or early round 3. Lacerda definitely is live in the early rounds, but Sosa is also a grappling champ, I believe, and just has the overall cleaner striker, so I think the grappling is going to cancel out to an extent, and because of that, Sosa will be able to win. Alright, moving on to Bolaji Oki versus Manoel Sousa. So, Oki is an extremely aggressive striker. He will use a fast jab to get his range, and then look to put together combinations with crosses and hooks. He does have wrestling, but it's mainly just thrown into there to mix the game up and such. It usually will just be double legs when he does go to it. He kind of slings his strikes. It's not my favorite style of punching, in all honesty, but it does work if you're very fast, and he is very fast, so it does work. However, this definitely can leave him open to being hit by counters, so that is an issue. He does gas out, and he tends to make really stupid decisions. For example, for those of you who don't remember, when he was fighting Duncan, he was lighting Duncan up on the feet. Then he shoots a takedown, nearly gets guillotined, but escapes and gets back up. So it's like, okay, he's just going to go back to the striking and either win a decision or get Duncan out later. He decides to shoot another takedown and then actually gets guillotined and goes out from it, which was like one of the lowest IQ moments I've seen in this sport, in all honesty. Similarly, in the Mason Jones fight, he hurt Mason Jones very badly multiple times, and then just decided it was time to spam hooks without any intelligence whatsoever until he gassed out and then got finished. So, his skills exceed his fight IQ, to say the least. Sosa is a very heavy-handed pressure striker. He wants to just walk forwards, walk down his opponent, and then throw heavy overhands and hooks in combination. Everything he throws is with full intent, even calf kicks. He will just like blast them as hard as he can with full rotation of the hip. Uses pressure as his defense. He doesn't really have a concept of defense otherwise. We have a lot of those people on this card, in all honesty. He has very poor defensive wrestling. His only loss has come off of a lot of wrestling, and even in his Contender Series fight, he would have lost if his opponent didn't just death gas, because he was just getting taken down like with everything his opponent tried. Sosa is going to be marketed as the guy who knocked out Rufi, of course. Rufi was very early in his career, as was Sosa in all fairness, so I don't think it is really relevant for their current skills. I don't have the highest opinion of Sosa. To me, he just seems like a guy who loads up on everything and doesn't set anything up and like have any immense skill set. This is a weird prediction for me to make because Oki is the better fighter, but probably worse fight IQ. I have to pick Oki here because I do think he's just better. But it definitely would not shock me if he did something stupid and got himself finished. So very tentative pick on Oki by decision. I think he can just be more technical over 3 rounds if he doesn't decide to be a complete idiot, but we will see what happens. Rufy was beating Sosa and doing very well too, but just got caught when he started slowing down. Yeah, that definitely seems to be a theme in Sosa's career where he's able to finish certain guys late when they just gas out early. Moving on to Chris Curtis versus Mitabek Oralbai. So, starting with Curtis, Curtis is basically a pure boxer, and specifically at that, a counter boxer. He will pressure forwards, but then he'll tend to wait for his opponent to throw. So there's a lot of like empty pressure in his game at some points. He varies whether he throws one shot or a longer combination, just depending on what his opponent is open to or not. He mainly uses a high guard as defense and pressure to get his opponents uncomfortable. In the past, his takedown defense was spectacular. But as he's aged, it seems like his reflexes have gotten a little bit worse, and he's definitely having less success in the wrestling defense in general. I'm going to take my sweater off. Give me a second. All right, moving on to Oralbai. So Oralbai's primary strength is the chain wrestling. On the feet, he is very aggressive though, and he will pressure forwards constantly. He can be a little bit wild. Like we saw in the Jack Hermanson fight, he was kind of just spamming overhands. But he does have power, and he will throw in combinations at times. Once his opponent is moving backwards, he will shoot in and constantly chain wrestle until he does get dominant position. He is, generally speaking, fine with his opponent getting up. He will just get them down again and into an even worse situation from there. On the ground, he'll look for ground and pound, but it is mainly just used to open up the submission. His cardio at welterweight seems much better than it did at lightweight, so he doesn't really slow down from what we've seen there, and I honestly don't know why he tried moving down to lightweight in general. He just looked worse there holistically. So this is a little bit of a weird prediction, because if Oralbai is swinging as erratically as he was last fight, then I could definitely see Curtis finding a counter shot. I don't think that's going to happen. I think that he trains a Team Alpha Male, and I think Team Alpha Male is smart enough to be like, okay, just shoot in constantly like you do in some of your fights, and don't give Curtis any chance to find a counter. So I am going to pick Curtis to win here by submission, but Oralbai needs to definitely show some fight IQ here. Sorry, I'm going to pick Oralbai. Did I say that correctly? I'm going to pick Oralbai to win by submission, but he definitely needs to show some fight IQ here and not just trade recklessly for no reason. Yeah, my bad if I said Curtis. Sometimes I just do that and mix them up when I'm saying that. But yes, Oralbai submission to be clear. All right, we'll finish the prelims. I'll answer a few questions and we'll move on from there. So moving on to Brad Tavares versus Eryk Anders. So Brad Tavares is basically a pure point striker. He's just going to move around on the outside, throw jabs, calf kicks, repeat. When he does open up, it is usually with the cross. Very occasionally he will throw longer combos, but he doesn't seem to like to in general. He doesn't have power on really anything he does, which has been one of his bigger issues. He does have spectacular takedown defense though. When he does get taken down, it is a little bit of a problem for him because he doesn't have the best get-ups, but he has defended takedowns from pretty much everyone he has fought. His striking defense can be a little bit questionable at times. He kind of just mainly puts up his hands and moves around a bit. So guys have caught him around the guard and such. We saw against Brightcheck, or however you say his name, he just kept landing overhands around the guard. Anders is a well-rounded fighter who is very slow, but makes up for it with strength and power. He wants to mix together his striking and wrestling until he can get to an advantageous position in one or the other. On the feet, he is generally trying to just land the southpaw left hand, and on the ground, he's mainly looking to just do damage with the ground and pound. Because he's so slow, you can definitely pick at him, and with his chin fading, it definitely is like an issue combined with his lack of speed, to say the least. but if he does get one good movement, he can end the fight. This is a weird fight to predict as well because Tavares has more speed, Anders has more power. It feels very 50-50. Both of these guys are at the tail end of their career. Whoever loses is probably retiring here, in all honesty. I am going to lean towards Anders to have the bigger moments and take a decision. Not a fight I relish predicting, to say the least, but I think that whenever Anders lands something, it's going to look great to the judges, and even if Tavares picks at him for the rest of the round, it's just not going to have the same impact. So Anders wins by decision, probably like a 29-28. All right, moving on to Charles Johnson versus Bruno Silva. So Charles Johnson is a volume-based striker. He is a bit of a slow starter. He tends to get behind early, but then pick up the pace and kind of use that to break his opponents. He does well when he can use his length while moving forwards. On the flip side, he does very poorly if he is forced to move backwards. He mixes kicks and punches well, but because he's so big for the weight class, he does tend to be a bit slower than his opponents. He is generally open to the lead hook counter because he'll crash into the pocket and not exit responsibly. He still does not have the best takedown defense rather, but it has improved considerably since like when he fought Durden landed like 10 takedowns or whatever it was. Silva is an explosive finisher who relies on it more than most flyweights. He really is going to win by finish or lose. He is very small even for the weight class, and he kind of relies on exploding into the pocket and landing massive looping shots there. On the outside, he will blast kicks at times. He did hurt one of his opponents badly with a front kick to the face, so he definitely does have that stuff in his kit. He isn't the most technical, but you really cannot afford to make any mistakes against him whatsoever. He has a pretty quick sprawl, and on the ground, he's generally going to try to work towards the back of his opponent and find a rear naked choke if it does go there. A lot of you guys know I don't have the highest opinion of Charles Johnson by any means, for a variety of reasons. But I still do think that he is the much more technical fighter here. While I would not be shocked if Silva caught Johnson with like the lead hook as Johnson entered, he should be able to just fight at his own range and just evade whenever Silva throws his wild stuff. And Silva isn't really technical enough to close the distance properly. So I'm going to say Johnson probably takes a decision here, probably a 29-28 where he drops the first round. All right, before we get onto the main card, I'll answer a few things. Too quick a turnaround for my liking. Silva by TKO. He returned fast, got TKO'd recently. Yeah, it's possible. I don't think it will matter here because I don't think that Silva's going to be able to land easily, but I also wouldn't be shocked. It's just very hard to pick Silva. Like, I don't know if I could pick Silva in a fight against decent fighters because of the fact that that Silva is just not very technical. So even if he has fight-ending power, it's just his ability to land it is very minimal, in all honesty. Never heard your opinion on if Tyra could beat Pantoja. Do you think he can actually hold Pantoja down for an extended period? Yeah, I think Tyra versus Pantoja would look very one-sided, to be honest. I think Tyra would maul him. Rufy or Max? I'd probably pick Rufy. If Vallejos finishes Emmett, is it time to admit that Ilya was never good? Okay. I assume that's a joke question, but yeah. Thoughts on Patterson versus MVP? I think Patterson just gets one takedown and then finishes him. I remember you saying Bruno Silva sucked at everything. Yeah, Bruno Silva is just, like, he has power, but there's just nothing there besides that. Rufy versus Chandler? Yeah, Rufy should knock him out. Thoughts on the White House card? I mean, it's good for a regular card. It's just not as good as I expected for what was supposed to be a landmark card. Like, Bo Nickel versus Kyle Dawkins on the main card of even of a big pay-per-view would be like, that's a little strange. For this card, it's even stranger. What do you think we're getting for the May pay-per-view? Jan injured, Islam injured, Hamzat MIA. Do you think we'll get a WMA main event or what? Honestly, I have no idea. I've heard it might be Hamzat versus Strickland's, but I don't actually know. I also don't think Islam is injured. I just think he's ducking again. Khabib or Oliveira? I think Khabib would win a boring decision, to be honest. Can Hyun-Sung Park still make a run at flyweight? The loss to Bruno Silva was really bad. Like, it just did not look good. It's possible, but I can't think so anymore. Tyre versus Van. I'm picking Tyre, probably. Six title fights were the friends we made along the way, apparently, yeah. I've never seen someone yell at their opponent like that. I was perplexed. Absolute Tylenol behavior, right, Ricky? It was an interesting one, we'll say that. Am I the only one that thinks Dawkins wins? And Dawkins could definitely win. I'm not going to make a prediction on it yet, but I wouldn't be surprised by any means. Islam doesn't want the smoke with Ilya. Yeah, he doesn't. Khabib or Ilya, I think Ilya would chin him. Yeah, I think Ilya would also now. Did you see Ilya's manager come out and plainly say that they said no to Islam because of the money? I did not see that. I don't think... Is that actually a thing? I have not heard that was true. JDM Prada's prediction. I'm probably leaning JDM, but I'll have to get into the tape. Alright, I'll move on to the main card, and we'll circle back around to that stuff later. So, starting with Vitor Petrino versus Steven Asplund. So, starting with Petrino, Petrino is, of course, a very explosive fighter who will vary his game plan a lot depending on the fight. On the feet, despite being fairly long, he's actually very reliant on hooks. He will throw hooks in combinations or as counters, but he tends to not really throw the straight as much. When he is wrestling, he'll use his power to either like exploit a mistake and get an easy takedown, or just pick someone up with a double leg and slam them down. On the ground, he will tend to hunt for submissions, but if he can't find it easily, he'll just open up with the ground and pound. His defense in general is a little bit lacking because he doesn't really move his head much on the feet, so he can definitely get clipped. His cardio is definitely the biggest concern. If last fight is any indication, that was like, it's very sloppy. Let's just say that. I don't even know what to say about it. Asplund is a heavyweight cardio striker on the flip side. Most of his wins are from his opponent gassing out and then Asplund picking up the pace from there. Despite his Contender Series knockout, he's usually more of an accumulation striker. We saw that in his last fight where he had to land like a lot of strikes to get his opponent out of there. He does throw a lot of calf kicks when he is at range. He's definitely a little bit reliant on being able to absorb damage. He will use angles and some rolling to reduce the impact, but like he stays in the pocket a lot and does definitely get clipped. With punches, he definitely can be a little bit looping shot heavy because he'll try to hang out in the pocket and just trade there. So that will range from hooks to overhands to uppercuts, but like not many straight shots. In the past, he has been taken down fairly easily and did not have much of a ground game from there. So that is definitely something to keep an eye on here. I am going to pick Petrino because he just has more paths to victory. For Asplund to win, he has to keep the fight on the feet and drag it later into the fight. Petrino could go to the wrestling and submit him. He could just knock out Asplund on the feet. He could get a takedown and just land ground and pound from there. So it's kind of hard to see Asplund surviving to round 2. If he does, obviously, he will very likely take over. But yeah, I'm going to say Petrino wins by TKO. And probably round 1, probably relatively early as well. Alright, moving on to Marwan Rahiki versus Harry Hardwick. So Rahiki is an extremely flashy striker. He'll throw a lot of spinning back elbows and... a lot of spinning elbows and spinning back kicks. In a way, he kind of resembles a young like Christian Leroy Duncan with the amount he spins and stuff. On the outside, he will focus a lot on overhands and kicking. He keeps his hands down so that he can counter more easily, but this definitely got him into trouble a few times because his distance management isn't spectacular, so you can definitely clip him. On Contender Series, he got dropped because he entered the pocket while kicking and just got blasted by an overhand because of that. He is definitely quite young though, and he's developing very quickly, so he may well look much better than he did last fight. It is hard to say. Hardwick is kind of like a jack of all trades who relies on his cardio to win fights usually. He'll switch stances a lot and throw jabs on the outside before committing to combos moving in. If he's not countering or pumping a jab, he does tend to throw in combinations. He doesn't really have power. He relies on volume for the most part. His calf definitely can get chewed up, as we saw in his last fight and many fights before that. He will mix things up with the wrestling, but he's not immensely good at it in all honesty, so oftentimes there's very limited success there. His defense on the feet kind of just sucks. He's very reliant on providing different looks, but he gets hit and he gets rocked a fair amount. So, notoriously, or maybe in a positive manner, I don't know, Cowie Fernandez against Harry Hardwick was the most confident I have ever been in a fight that wasn't like minus 500 before. So, sorry. So Cowie Fernandez became my most bet fighter of all time last night, and that is the only time I was over 95% confident in a fight. So obviously, I don't have the highest opinion on Hardwick, and that fight went pretty much exactly how I was expecting. That being said, Rahiki is definitely not Hardwick. Is definitely not Fernandez. So there's not that big of a skill discrepancy here as there was last time. I am still going to pick Rahiki by TKO. He's the more dangerous fighter, and I think that he is evolving quickly enough that he will find a way to land something and end the fight pretty easily from there. However, would I be shocked if Rahiki slowed down and Hardwick was able to take the later rounds or something like that in a fight like this? No, I wouldn't. So I wouldn't say this is like another one of those 95% confident picks, but Rahiki definitely should get it done. Jack of no trades. Yeah, that is accurate. All right, moving on to Andre Fili versus Jose Miguel Delgado. So Fili is a flow stage striker who will use a lot of movement. He stance switches constantly and uses a more relaxed stance to kind of hide when he is throwing. He'll throw either a kick or move into a combo, again, using the whole relaxed nature to just throw it without his opponent realizing he's throwing anything. He'll use the same strategy to kind of try to flow into takedowns in ways that aren't expected. Because he has a very reactive style, he can definitely have issues against guys who don't play into the game like Costa did. Costa just picked at him from the outside, and Fili just had no response to that. He does have pretty solid takedown defense, so unless he's against a very high-level wrestler, he generally controls if there is going to be grappling or not in the fight. Delgado, in many ways, is actually pretty similar to Fili. He's also a very flowing striker. The main difference is that he's a lot more aggressive about it. He is not reactive like Fili is. All of his techniques tend to be chained. So he'll pair hooks and combinations while moving forwards, he'll put spinning back fists after kicks, mid-knee combo, etc. Because he throws a lot of hooks despite being very long for the weight class, sometimes faster opponents can clip him in the pocket because they do tend to just be better at that range. He can be taken down due to his movements being extremely explosive, but he does have a solid ground game from what we've seen so far with the decent level submissions. So he hasn't really been in much danger even when he does get taken down and has been able to get up fairly easily. Delgado is just the younger, more powerful, and like overall better version of Fili. So I think that Delgado is going to get a pretty easy TKO here, in all honesty. And Delgado got robbed really badly in his last fight. I thought he won a 30-27 over Wood. You could argue it was a 29-28. I just saw no feasible way to give that to Wood. So that was just, I mean, maybe it's good for Delgado because he'll get in a few more easy fights so he can evolve before Tenkyo on the rankings. But that was just kind of disturbing to see, in all honesty. Delgado won that Wood fight. I'll never forget that, man. Yeah, I agree. That was insane. Like, that was one of the worst robberies I've seen. All right. Cutelaba versus Oumar Sy. So, Cutelaba is a finish-oriented wrestler who will throw heavy hands to set up the wrestling. To close the distance, he basically just spams hooks and overhands. That's all he's going to do. Once he is close a distance, he will then go for double legs, throws, or pretty much anything else. On the ground, he is ground and pound first, but he will definitely take the submission if it is there. There's no real defense to break down on Cutelaba because it doesn't exist. He's just one of those fighters. Oumar Sy is primarily a grappler, though he definitely does have power in his hands. On the feet, he's going to throw out a lot of calf kicks and jabs to find his timing. Once he's comfortable, he'll open up more with the cross, but then generally he'll try to get to his wrestling from there. He definitely does go for the double leg and then just work from the double leg. If he needs to switch to like a high cross or a single leg, he'll do so. On the ground, he'll use ground and pound, but generally speaking, he wants to open up the back take and go for the rear naked choke from there. His defense on the feet is statistically speaking good, but it mainly looks like that because he doesn't really take risks. It's not like an indication that he actually has like great defensive movement or anything along those lines. So we don't know if he gets into a firefight, if that's going to hold up. C should be just the more technical fighter everywhere. It is always a little unnerving to pick C after the Menafield loss because he just did nothing in that fight. but I am going to take him to win this by submission. He should just be better everywhere, so I can't find a reason to not pick him in all honesty. So yeah, C should win by submission, and hopefully it's a early and easy one as well to just get like the taste of the Menafield fight out. All right, Amanda Lemos versus Gillian Robertson. So Amanda Lemos is a power puncher, of course. On the outside, she mainly throws jabs and a variety of kicks to load up on pretty much everything she throws, entering with like hooks and or overhands. She is very strong, so it is difficult to brute force takedowns on her, to say the least. However, if you do get her down, she's not the best at getting up from there, so you can have success holding her down for extended periods of time. Robertson is a damage-oriented grappler. On the feet, she mainly just jabs, throws basic 1-2s and calf kicks. She's not going to really commit to anything. She has a variety of takedowns, so she can shoot on the single or double and switch it up part way as well. On the ground, she will advance slowly, look for subs. If she cannot find subs, she'll just do damage afterwards. I think this is a closer fight than people are making it out to be, because Lemos showed in her last fight that if you don't have highly technical takedowns, it is very hard to take her down. And Robertson definitely uses bully-style takedowns. I still think that Robertson will eventually get her down once, and if she does, can probably finish the fight from there. So I'm going to pick Robertson by submission. But I am not wholly confident that Robertson will get her down once. We will have to see what happens there. If Robertson can make this look easy, then she's definitely moving very quickly towards a title shot. But we'll see if this ends up looking like she's the favorite that she is odds-wise. So yeah, Robertson by submission. It'll probably come in round 2 if it does. All right, moving on to the main event. So Josh Emmett versus Kevin Vallejos, or I think it's actually Kevin Vallejos, right? Based on how they pronounce it usually. Okay, so starting with Vallejos, he is a boxer who kind of just throws in other skills to round out the skill set. He does prefer to counter-strike, so he'll slip a shot and then throw a combo from there, but he will throw proactively if he has the opportunity to. From the outside, he mainly throws calf kicks to force people to engage, and then will tend to respond with heavy overhands if you're just kind of waiting on him. He can get a little bit predictable with the direction that he's slipping. So that's why he lost to Silva in Contender Series. Silva started understanding how he was slipping and then just putting lead elbows there. He does have fairly good takedown defense, but it hasn't been tested against a high-level wrestler, so I don't know what's going to happen if he fights, like, say, Evloev, for example, right? Emmett is basically just a brawler. He loads up on everything he throws and just spams overhands and hooks. If he does shoot a takedown, which he does occasionally, it is mainly on double legs. He doesn't have great control on the ground, even if he can get the fight down, though. Because of how dangerous he is, opponents have a hard time committing to finishing him, which is how he was able to get like the Cater fight to go to a decision, even though I do think that was a pretty disgusting robbery. His defense is mainly either being out of range or just being loading up on something so consistently that it forces his opponent to back up out of range and not respond. That's, again, a lot of why he's been able to take, like, say, Ilya to decision, even though that was very unexpected. I do, however, think Emmett is a little bit older now, a little bit slower, and Vallejos is probably going to try to finish him over the 5 rounds and probably will find the finish. So I am picking Vallejos by TKO. I think it may come in like rounds 3 or 4 as Emmett starts to slow down a little bit more, and Vallejos has showed pretty good cardio. I do think that the last fight against Giga was a little bit concerning because he didn't really have a method of closing the range there. But this is a much better matchup because Emmett is the type of fighter that will come forwards and throw strikes that you can slip fairly easily as long as you are paying attention. So this fight is made to showcase Vallejos, and I do think it will eventually do so, even though it might be a little bit of a suspect beginning. I don't care how commentary pronounces names anymore. Okay, so they do actually pronounce Wang Tong's name correctly. I am aware of that one. So commentary doesn't always do it right, but they definitely do pronounce her name correctly. Costa and Garcia versus Kevin. I don't which Costa. Emmett has to be one of the least skilled, highly ranked featherweights ever. Yeah, I agree. If I remember correctly, Emmett took Murphy down right. Kind of makes me concerned for him against Movzar. To be fair, I don't think Murphy was worried about the grappling against Emmett. Not saying that Movsar won't take him down, but I don't think it's really necessarily the biggest indication because Murphy didn't really care if Emmett took him down. Have you ever gone 100% on picks on a card? Yes, I have, but not frequently to say the least. Kevin versus Yair, who wins? Probably Yair. Oh, is it concerning Giga and Emmett have completely different styles? I'm not going to say it's concerning for this fight. I'm saying it's concerning for Vallejos' style as a whole. Do you think there's a chance this goes the distance given Emmett's durability? It's possible. I wouldn't be shocked. The best striker in Argentina. Fair. Vallejos money line, most significant strikes, most strikes under 2.5. Very possible. Hey, Oracle, Pereira versus Gon is even odds. Yeah, that is strange. He probably means, oh, Melky Costa. Okay. Oh, it's an interesting one. I'd have to analyze that more deeply, honestly. Any worse male fighter to fight for a belt than Emmett in recent memory? Good question. I don't think so. Khalil Roundtree? Honestly, Roundtree's probably better than Emmett, skill-wise. Moicano, maybe. In my opinion, Talbot and Vera are versus best paths to get another dub, and anyone else above him stomps him out. I would say Vera, yes. I don't think Talbot, though, because I don't think he's going to finish Talbot on the ground, and on the feet, he's going to be a lot more dangerous than Font. Who's an unranked fighter that you think could be put in a title fight immediately and win it? None right now, honestly. Is Lopez even good enough to beat Garcia? I'm leaning for Garcia, but I haven't done tape yet or anything. Moicano is better than Emmett? Yeah, I could see that. Does Vallejos have a submission game? Emmett has terrible BJJ. He does have a submission game. I just don't think it's necessarily good enough to submit Emmett. Lopez versus Garcia prediction. Easiest first round finish on either side. Yeah, I do think Garcia probably takes it, but again, I haven't done tape yet. I could change my mind. You don't think Emmett can catch Vallejos? It's always possible. Just, I can't pick it. He doesn't really have a setup for it. How did Vallejos manage to close the distance after struggling for 1.5 rounds against Giga? He just did something that was unexpected with the spinning back fist or elbow. I'm forgetting which hit. Jamal Hill? Yeah, that's also possible. Did you do a 326 recap at the start? Yes, I did. Who do you think Max would fight next? Probably BSD. Thoughts on Charles with fight IQ? Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what we're seeing now. And obviously it's going quite well for him. John Silva versus Bryce in a grappling match. I'd lean John Silva or draw because I think it's submission only. I'd actually probably lean draw. I don't think either of them are getting subbed in submission only. What about Patty? I don't think it's worse than Emmett, but I do get what you mean. Max would beat Patty? Yeah, probably. What do you think on Bo Nickel Whitehouse fight or Garcia Lopez fight? Who wins? Bo Nickel, Kyle Dawkins, I'm not sure. Both of those fights I'd want to do tape on. Lauren Murphy is easily the worst fighter to fight for a belt. I assume we're like limiting it to not WMA, but fair if we are. How would Jamal Hill versus RDR go? I think Hill would probably knock him out, but I'm not that confident. What are your confident picks for this card? They'll be in the Discord if you're signing up for the betting service. Oh yeah, I should do the plug for that. I always forget. If you guys are betting on this card, consider joining the betting service. Last year we did 250 units in profit just off the Bates algorithm. I am also going to be releasing an updated algorithm at some point this year, and probably relatively soon as well. So link is in the description for that. Always feel free to DM me with questions there. We need to know is can Dariush survive Torres? Yeah, that's not happening. Advertise the betting service. Yes, I just remembered to. Do you think Dariush will get KO'd from Torres' glove touch at the start? Very possible. Charles versus top 5 of welterweight. I mean, he probably beats most, if not all of them. My goat Kyle Dawkins will slime out, but very possible. He could sub him. I could see a Darce. RDR versus Jamal Hill goes in draw double KO. Possible. How much is the betting service? $25 a month. Charles versus Prime Connor. It's a tough one to call. I don't know if Connor could stop the takedowns, but obviously if he could, then on the feet, he definitely had a massive advantage. Thoughts on Max versus Manuel Torres? It's an interesting one. I'd probably actually pick Torres right now, to be honest. But I could see Max just having much better footwork and like picking him apart later. Duncan versus Moicano, early prediction. Also, Waldo versus Volkov is on 328 prediction for that. Duncan versus Moicano, I was immediately thinking like, oh, this might have to be the first time I pick Duncan. And then I was watching Duncan's tape against Oki. And I was like, this guy is so bad. How do I pick him here? I don't know who I'm going to pick. We'll have to see. I'll do full tape on it. Waldo versus Volkov. I might lean Waldo, to be honest. Morales probably KOs Charles, to be honest. That's also... no, I don't think so. I don't think he could. Because Charles is much faster with the takedowns than someone like Brady is. And definitely has much more dangerous stand-up as well. How would Rufy versus Charles go? I think Charles would get the fight down, but I'm not terribly confident. Ziam versus Max? I'd pick Ziam. Also on Aspinall versus Alex. Oh yeah, so some of you guys have asked me about that, so I'll cover that briefly. I think that Alex would beat Aspinall fairly easily, and that's very different than the public take, I know. But the reality is that from what we've seen out of Aspinall's career, especially in his last fight, Aspinall is super open to counters if his opponent is circling at all. We saw Gon circle, and Gon is not very good either, don't get me wrong. So Gon couldn't really exploit this heavily. But whenever Aspinall swung when Gon was circling, there would be like a full 1.5 seconds to a 2-second opportunity to just blast a counter. So I see Tom trying to go in with the 1-2, Pereira just circling, and then just blasting him with the lead hook and putting him out. Prates versus Charles. I mean, especially with what we saw when Edwards was able to take the back of Prates pretty easily. I think Charles would take that. People copy your bets, or do you just give out suggestions? So we do a lot of things, right? We have multiple algorithms. Then we also have my percentages of what's going to happen in every fight. So some people like to look at that to make their decisions. Then I also give my bets. I tend to give it without the unit amounts. I want people to decide that for themselves. But generally speaking, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things you could do. Ziam has to be the most underrated fighter right now. He fights like a world champion. Yeah, he's up there. I think Kelly Fernandez also. Alex honestly just mogs heavyweight. His skill alone is so high compared to Gon and Aspinall. Yeah, for sure. How would Perez beat Max? He's just more technical. He'd probably win by decision. I don't think he's going to finish Max, but he's just more technical everywhere. Ferrero triple champ would honestly save UFC, plus Yuri light heavyweight champ. Valid. I'll take McKinney versus Duncan is the best matchup the UFC has made in a while, including title fights. I mean, if we're saying like, oh, just what is an entertaining fight, then I would say that it was, what's his name? Ibo Aslan versus Iwo Baraneski, right? Like, that was more fun than even McKinney Duncan. Should Alex beat Gon handedly? Yeah, Alex is going to maul Gon. I think Charles would beat JDM. Based on what we saw last time, yeah. You do a recap? Yeah, sure. Alright. Starting here. Piera Rodriguez by decision. Elijah Smith by decision. Bia Mesquita by sub. Petcher Sosa by TKO. Bolaji Oki by decision. Maidabek Oral by submission. Eryk Anders by decision. Charles Johnson by decision. Vitor Petrino by TKO. Marwan Rahiki by TKO. Jose Miguel Delgado by TKO. Oumar Sy by submission. Gillian Robertson by submission. And Kevin Vallejos by TKO. Do you like oranges? I mean, they're okay. Brady versus Buckley. I really have to do tape for that, because I thought it was like a 50-50 opening. That's on the Elite sacrificing Chandler to Oh, I imagine him up against Rufy. I mean, Chandler had to be sacrificed to sell one, so it's good it's to Rufy. Letson Yuri versus Olberg. I mean, it's one of those fights where it's either Olberg early or Yuri late. I hope Yuri can take it. I probably will pick Yuri, but I still have to do tape on it. Tyra as flyweight, Yuri as light heavyweight, and Alex as heavyweight champion would be perfect trifecta. That's valid. That was a Meathead Classic. Yeah, 100%. Trevor Peak is moving to 145. Is there anyone he beats? I don't know why he's moving to 145. Like, his style is much better for 155. Is there anyone he could beat? Like, is Hyder Emil is 145, right? He could probably beat Emil. Dober versus Jalen Turner. Thoughts? I'd still pick Jalen Turner there. I wish Josh Emmett had more fight IQ. Valid. Raider Islam, probably Islam. Usman versus Charles. I think that Charles would knock him out. If you're Bryce Mitchell, what would be your game plan to submit Jean this weekend? That's a tough one because Bryce has never had great subs, to be honest. I know he hit the twister, but like he hasn't had a sub since then, I believe. So I would say for Bryce, your game plan is more just take it to a decision or a draw, I guess, by not getting subbed. Islam's actually injured. I'd like to see Gary versus Morales for an interim belt, because both have been going at it with each other on socials about who's getting the next shot. Who would you pick? I'd probably pick Gary if that happens, honestly. Chandler asked for Connor and got the 2-move version ballot. What about Islam versus Charles now? I don't know, because Charles showed up so weirdly in the first fight, and I don't know why still. I don't know if he genuinely had an off night like he was saying, or there was something about the matchup that was giving him problems that I just can't see. I thought then that Charles would have the ability to beat Islam. I still think he has the ability, but obviously the first fight wasn't a good indication, so I don't know. Thoughts on Tyra versus Pantoja? I think Tyra would win easily, in all honesty. Olberg will throw a lead body kick, and Yuri will blitz and KO with the cross, hopefully. Islam Makhachev is a coward. Dagi talk about honor, but then cower in their caves when any good fighter shows up. Yeah, I mean, the Dagestani fighters are not necessarily known for taking any risky fights, to say the least. Jalen Turner will be minus 300, then plus 450 on the day against Dober. Valid. Lopez versus Garcia, early prediction. I'm leaning Garcia, but I'm not sure. Jean or Charles? Tough to say. I'd probably lean Jean, but I'm not confident. Would Dakota Decheva have success against the UFC flyweight top 5? It's hard to say because she's only fought Cans and Tyler Santos. And Tyler Santos is a good matchup for her, so I can't even take that much from it. The audio is hella beefing. I'm not sure what that means, sorry. Is there anyone in the rankings or on the come up that you think would be favorable to beat Tyra? Not really, to be honest. He's going to be tough to beat. Probably McGregor or John Silva. I don't think John Silva's in his prime yet. So I think once he's in his prime, we might be having a different conversation. Right now, I'd probably lean McGregor. Or just pulled out of the Benil fight. If that's true, that sucks. Just give it to, like, Ziam then, or Fernandez. Who beats Ian at 170? I mean, Islam definitely could, for sure. Prata's in a rematch, might. I can't think of anyone else off the top of my head, but there probably are people. Loner Kavanaugh versus Van predictions. I'd still pick Van. I think he's more technical holistically. Hey, Oracle, I arrived late and haven't seen your opinion of RDR versus Kyle yet. But I thought that Kyle was on incredible momentum for the first couple of minutes until he got the groin shot. Yeah, that could play a role. I mean, the groin shot definitely could have taken some cardio out of him. Yeah, my full breakdown on that fight was near the beginning of the stream. But I do somewhat agree with you. Yeah, that definitely could have been a factor. Islam cheated multiple times against Charles like he does against every opponent. People need to notice that Islam is a huge cheat plus use PEDs. Yeah, I mean, Islam is definitely one of the dirtiest fighters on the roster, don't get me wrong. I have no love for Islam. I will root for literally anyone against him, even Armin of all people. But, yeah, I mean, yeah, nothing else to say about that. Islam just circled and fought really well there against Charles, who doesn't have great defense, also grabbed Charles's gloves too. I don't think the circling was the major factor, because Charles just didn't have any awareness to the left hook, which I don't think came from the circling. But I do get what you're saying, yeah. Could the reason why UFC White House is so underwhelming be because Dana lowballed his fighters? It's always possible, I wouldn't be shocked. Was the best chance of beating Tyra at flyweight? I would say the best chance is still probably Van, but I don't think it will happen. Khabib or Ilya, I think Khabib by sub. Especially with what we know now, I think Ilya would knock him out. In the words of Sean Brady's co-host, Chandler is fighting the stylistic Conor McGregor pair. Does Mokaev beat anyone in the top 5 and then gets destroyed by everyone except maybe Royval? Yeah, maybe he could beat Royval, but the rest should take it. New video when? Probably either tomorrow or the next day. I'm not positive yet. Couldn't Pantoja beat Tyra by keeping the fight on the feet? I tend to think he's the better striker. But he's not going to be able to. One thing people don't realize about Pantoja is he doesn't have good takedown defense. His losses have tended to come from takedowns. Tyra or Jan? That's Tyra's toughest matchup at 135. I still think Tyra could win it, but I'm not confident. No reason to pull out even an injured Torres slams out Dariush. Yeah, probably. Ziam kills Dariush. Yeah, 100%. Why are people acting like Van is utter trash at fighting just because of the circumstances around his title win? Because UFC fans tend to be overly emotional. Van is still obviously a very good fighter. I want Gary to beat Islam or Topuria. I mean, I'd rather he beats Islam than Topuria, but sure. Who did Dariush piss off to get these matchups, by the way? I don't know. Islam's hella chill. I mean, he's one of the proven dirtiest fighters on the roster, so. Eddie Hearn versus Dana White early prediction. I don't know, because everyone claims that like Dana's actually a good boxer, but I've never seen any proof of it. So I would take the much younger person and Eddie Hearn. BSD versus Charles. I think BSD wins. I'd probably lean towards Charles, but I wouldn't be shocked if BSD won either. Do you consider Van to be the second best fighter of flyweight? I think Tyra is 1, but Pantoja is 2, and Lohner's 3. I think Van is definitely in the top 3. Whether he's better than Pantoja or not, we didn't really get a chance to find out, unfortunately. Isn't Gillian Robertson the one chick that was elbowing her opponent's butt? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, Van literally beat Royval on short notice. He's clearly elite and has solid takedown defense and sprawling, which helps him against Tyra. Yeah, for sure. I do think Tyra would win, but Van is definitely not a slouch by any means. Who wins, Mighty Mouse or Francis Ngannou? I guess I'd lean Francis, but I wouldn't be shocked. Nah, I don't know. I'd have to think about that more. If Torres can walk, he can kill Dariush. Don't you dare pull out. Valid. Prime Jan versus Prime Volk. I got Jan. Probably Volk. Volk was just too technical for Jan to get good reads on him. Eddie Hearn is a bit better. Fair. If he's better, then yeah, he'll do it. Any thoughts on the JDM Pratas matchup? Minor lean towards JDM initially, but no real thoughts on it. I have to do tape for sure. Erical, what's up? Hey, how you doing? BSD is way too open. Charles hits way too hard. Yeah, very possible. Dana's boxing experience was like 40 years ago. Fair. What about Islam is dirty? I mean, he has like the record number of glove grabs and fence grabs, I believe. He basically manipulates positions by grabbing his opponent's glove. And there's like multiple fights he would have lost if he didn't do that, apparently. Eddie Hearn is a huge guy. Fair. Francis fighting a Tanner Bozer victim is so stupid. Yeah, that makes no sense. What do you think of Kyo's performance? Didn't get the start of the stream. I was not impressed with his performance, to say the least. Even though he like obviously clearly won 30-27, it was just, I feel like he should have been able to finish RDR. Who would win between Van and Pantoja, and would the injury affect the outcome? If they rematch now, I would pretty confidently pick Van, because yeah, the injury is going to affect the rematch. Even if he heals 100%, he's just going to have a slight hesitation because of the injury, and I think that would be fatal. Thoughts on Asplund and other UFC fighters signing with Eddie Hearn and matchroom boxing seems like a positive move towards increasing fighter pay. It's interesting. We'll have to see what happens, but I don't know what's going to happen. You still think Merab beats Jan in a rematch, and it was just him fighting like a moron? Yeah, especially with what John Wood said about like how he basically tried to force Merab to fight for a finish instead of just fighting. I'm pretty confident in Merab. Manuel Torres pulled out. Yeah, that's unfortunate then. Nurgaje versus Tafa. Who wins? Tafa. Nurgaje's so bad. I saw some footage of Volk piecing up Jan in the southpaw stance and sparring. Interesting. Do you think that Charles beats Armin in a 5-rounder? Seems like Armin's a weird matchup as the wrestling ground pound. Yeah, I think Charles beats him in a rematch. Prime Dustin would have beaten Charles in Islam. I mean, we saw Prime Dustin get smoked by Charles. Islam is possible because even older Dustin gave Islam issues. Hey, Oracle, who would win in a world champion ant versus an untrained elephant? I think there's a little bit of a limitation of skill expression there, let's call it. By the way, these two are supposedly signed for China fight card. Robert Whittaker versus Volkan Ozdemir, and Mario versus Song Yidong. Who you got? So, probably Ozdemir over Whittaker, to be honest. And I probably have to take Mario over Song at this point. I think Mario just evolves so much fight to fight, it's genuinely impressive. I think I just saw a UFO. There was a green orb filing on the street above me for a few seconds. Probably the government at this point. Prime Connor versus Ilya. I think Connor's a bad matchup for him, as I've said many times. So I'd probably lean towards Connor, but not sure. If Alex beats Gon and Aspinall, is he the GOAT? You could definitely argue he is. I think a triple champ is like a pretty solid argument for being the GOAT, yeah. I think Dana White would have a heart attack if he tried to do a camp. That's very possible. Might have been a shooting star fair. Thoughts on Kyle calling out DDP? I think DDP would annihilate him. Robert Tyra. Had to exit and restart the stream due to audio buffering. Maybe it's only on my side, but it's fine out. YouTube is just so strange. I don't know what's happening with it. Ricochet can't grapple. Tafa does him up. Yeah, agreed. Like Charles just kind of freezes and hesitates when there's a takedown threat in his fights. It's weird because sometimes he doesn't. Then sometimes he definitely does. GSP was also an underrated cheater in his prime. How so? I don't remember him cheating, but it's been a while since I watched his fights. Whittaker is not good anymore. He won't be good at 205. He's going to die. Yeah, his last fight did not look great. I just can't see it going well. Taporia versus Mario. Yeah, I'm in Taporia for sure. Speaking of China, I want to see Zhang Minyang fight again. It would be fun, yeah. Whittaker might have the craziest speed hack at 205. It's possible. Why Volkan over Whittaker? Volkan tends to throw in combos, and I feel like Whittaker is going to get clipped at the end of a combo, and Whittaker just doesn't have a great chin. I watched the Silva Vallejos fight. The way Silva was chasing Kevin with the elbows like a madman is funny to me somehow. Fair. Yeah, that was fun. Should Alex be pound for pound number one if he wins the interim champion and becomes triple champ? Yeah, 100%. Or like in current, for sure. All time is the question, but I would still say there's a strong argument. Poetan versus Aspinall. I'd pick Alex. Again, I'm going to pick Alex against any heavyweight. Make a wish, bro. Wish he doesn't throw this weekend. Thanks. Valid. Jemaya versus Strickland supposedly signed for 328. Who you got? I have to lean Chimaev, but Strickland has a solid chance, and if that fight happens, I'm going to see if I can help out the camp a little bit. Those of you who look at my stories know what I'm referring to, so I may try to get involved if they are willing, which it seems like they might be. How would Zhang Minyang do at heavyweight? I mean, better than a light heavyweight for sure. Like, he'd probably get at least top 5, but then probably lose there. Dang it, I love Whittaker. Yeah, that's fair. He's a good guy, but he's just old. Not necessarily old, but he's just very damaged. Like Malott versus Gilbert Burns. I probably have to lean Malott, but like I don't have a very high opinion of him. I wouldn't be shocked if Burns fraud checked him. Whittaker losing to RDR broke my heart. That's valid, yeah. If Gon or Aspinall can land on Alex, can he survive? I mean, Gon needs like 200 strikes to finish anyone. So yeah, he'll definitely survive against Gon. Aspinall, different story. Which heavyweight has the best chance against Alex? It's still probably Tom. Can Alex even knock out Waldo? That would be a good experiment. Walter Walker versus Pereira. I mean, Walter doesn't have good enough defense for that. Charles and Ilya rematch would probably go the same. Don't think Charles can get him down consistently. Thoughts? Yeah, for sure. Why does Garbage Man Rainer not get decimated in every fight? For some reason, like, Allen just decided to grapple with him until he won, which, like, fair. I guess he found that he has the ability to. But I don't know why, like, Whitaker wasn't just more aggressive. It definitely, like, solidified the Whitaker as watch narrative. Does Gon have a good chance against Pereira? No, Gon has no chance against Pereira, in all honesty. Nick likes how you think. Congratulations. Thank you. Kind of funny, just by moving up, Alex is already probably the best heavyweight in the roster. Yeah, exactly. Oracle, please help Strickland take the belt from Hamzat. I will do my best. Used to grab the opponent's shorts while trying to take people down. I'd have to rewatch that, because I don't remember it, but I wouldn't be shocked either. Best Canadian prospect, in your opinion? Oh, okay. It's Charles Jourdain's brother. I'm blanking on his name, but it's him. Lott versus Burns being a main event is so lame. Yeah, I agree. Waldo for sure gets chinned. Yeah, probably valid, but he takes a lot of damage somehow, just from nothing. My favorite fighter is Oral by valid. I wish we saw Vittori versus Pereira just for science. Valid, yeah. Can't find anything on Torres pulling out against Dariush. Don't know where people are getting this from. Interesting. I guess we'll find out soon. Everyone is sleeping on Pavlovich. Also, when is this guy gonna fight? I swear he fought last August and took no damage. Pavlovich? I don't know. I mean, he needs to show up again. We'll see what happens when he does. Do some unknown fighters reach out to you for advice on game plans? Usually for regional fights, we're getting to the points that maybe it will start happening for UFC fights, but it has happened for regional before. Seeing how Max looked in the back foot, I finally understand what you said that Ilya would knock him out in 1 at 155. Yeah, it's just Ilya's gotten better. Max's style has evolved in a weird way that I don't like. Ilya would just decimate him. Louis Jourdain, yeah, got you. Yeah, him. Rufy versus Holloway. I'd probably lean Rufy at this point. You should get in touch with DDP's camp so he beats Chimaev. That would be harder to do. I mean, I would try if it happens, but it's not going to be as easy. Ilya seems even more dangerous even when he's not fighting. He just wins. His wins just age better each day. Yeah, that is true. Does Zahabi have a chance against O'Malley? I'm not sure. I have to look at the fight more. How many fouls would Gon have to commit to beat Alex? Like 50. I mean, he would just have to foul until it turned into a no contest. Go Octagon Oracle. Good to see you here. I'm amazing. Or I'm amazing, I should say. Volk versus Prime Gaethje. Volk, for sure. Oral by Curtis predictions. I think some of you guys missed some of the predictions, so I'll go over it one more time. So, starting with the first fight, I'm going to say Piera Rodriguez takes the decision. Elijah Smith decision. Bia Mesquita sub. Petra Soja late TKO. Bolaji Oki decision. Meitabek oral by sub. Anders decision. Johnson decision. Petrino TKO. Rahiki TKO. Delgado TKO. C submission. Robertson submission, second round. Vallejos later TKO. CLD versus Delize prediction, and is there any value at Murphy at plus 215? I already put money on him. CLD should knock him out, realistically. Value on Murphy, I could see it. I don't think Murphy should be that big an underdog. Do you think Audaba beats Vittori? At this point, yeah. The question is, does he knock him out? Why aren't you high on Manoel Sousa? He's from my hometown. I'm rooting for him. He just doesn't set stuff up. He kind of just wades into the pocket and just loads up on overhands. It's kind of like Emmett, except he has more forward pressure. So he could definitely get wins. Maybe he'll win this one. It's definitely possible. But I just don't have the highest opinion of his style. Will you be in my corner when I fight for the world championship? Yeah, sure. Probably an odd question, but would you ever consider being an MMA coach? I'm probably not going to constantly be in the gym with a fighter, but would I help them for a fight in terms of doing the analysis, watching their sparring, analyzing stuff like that? Sure. Brady versus Buckley. I still have to do tape. I was like 50-50 when it was announced. You think we'll ever see Torres versus BSD? I feel like that'd be a crazy scrap. That would be a fun one, but I think that they're not going to meet for a while if they ever do, because UFC is like kind of not protecting, but like is pushing both of them right now. The Octagon go to goal, appreciated. It's a hobby by sub. That'd be crazy. Hobby gets hurt often. I don't like his odds. Yeah, that's fair. Volk versus Charles now. I think Charles would just knock him out, to be honest. Did you win any money betting on UFC last weekend? No, last week was the first week of this year I was down, unfortunately, but at least I was like down a very small amount. Thoughts on Islam Dulatov, the model guy? I mean, he's looked good so far, but his competition level hasn't been the highest, so we need to see more. Oracle, do you like sushi? It's fine, yeah. I noticed the sparring matches, the longer I go, the more I stray away from being a reserved technical style. My conditioning is fine. Do you know any reasons this happens? It's kind of mental exhaustion, right? People underestimate how mentally taxing sparring is, especially like thinking while sparring. It's like kind of playing a chess match, but much faster. So it's more about conditioning the mind than the body for that. Hey, Oracle, do you train MMA? Yes. Oracle, did you know that at least one underdog wins on a main card of the pay-per-view since at least the last 50 pay-per-views? Makes sense. I mean, statistically, like, it's very likely it will happen, so yeah, it makes sense. Lopez versus Charles. I'm going to pick Charles. I don't think Lopez will do well 155. Is there any possible way Chandler fighting at the White House gives him some weird mental edge? In his own little way. I don't know why he took this fight, man. I mean, I'm sure he just wants to fight at the White House, even if he's going to lose, because that kind of does put him into history, win or loss. But, I mean, do I think it's going to give him an edge? Not really. I feel like Volk would be prime for a knee tap, for a knee, or just keep it accidentally chins him against Charles. It's the way he ducks and exchanges and exits out with his chin. I feel like Volk would just get knocked out moving backwards again, to be honest. Or all by future champ or not. It would be fun to see, but not yet. I think Ilya stays for like 3 fights max, goes to boxing in my opinion. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. I mean, it would make sense because he's definitely in it for money, and that's where the most of the money is. Sparring isn't mentally taxing unless I get like no rest and we go for long rounds. I mean, yeah, taxing for like 2 minutes is not going to be the case, but if you're fighting multiple rounds in sparring, it's definitely going to be mentally taxing. Also, Wadi, or however you spell it, should beat Shem, right? Possibly finish. And that'll probably take a decision, to be honest. What's your prediction on Izzy Piper? I want to pick Izzy, but he's looked worse every fight. He's not as driven to win on the way out. Yeah, no, I think Piper's going to chin him, to be honest. I think Piper's just going to move in, start grappling initially. Once he gets Izzy thinking about it, he's going to blast the overhand, take him out. Didn't UFC 320 have all favorites win? Let me check, actually, since someone was asking about that. UFC 320 was Ankalaev Pereira. No, because Pereira won as an underdog. Pyra or Charles at size parity? I might still lean Charles, but I'm not sure. How can a fighter improve his fight IQ? You mainly just have to put the effort into watching a bunch of tape and analyzing, and then trying to implement it in real time. Man, I feel bad. I only ask MMA questions for hours. How's your week been? I appreciate it, but I am also here for that, so all good either way. But yeah, my week's been okay. I'm finally fairly healthy again, which is nice. So it's just been mainly working on Strat 3 for the betting stuff, and then other tools that we'll have in the future. And of course, I had to do tape on Sunday, and then today I'll probably do content after stream or early tomorrow. If I don't get the chance, we'll see. What about you? What do you think about Kato versus Wood fight next weekend? So I haven't done tape on that yet either, but at first thought I'd lean Wood. I think Pyfer has a bad time dealing with leg kicks. Jack threw a couple and Pyfer was cooked. He no longer plans to throw any real power. Yes, but I do think he's going to get better at dealing with it. Was Cody just like a god that one time, or was he just tailor-made to beat only Cruz? Like, that? Would that Cody beat Jan, Sean, or Marab? So I think Cody, again, the degradation we're seeing with him is not like he's not a good thing or he's washed. It's just that he doesn't have the confidence to try to knock his opponent out now, because he's just not throwing. It's not like he's missing. Like when we see him throw, he lands. Like he rocked Barcelos multiple times in round 1. He hit Zhao with a pretty big elbow that like kind of dropped him for a second and so on. So when Cody goes, he hurts people. He just doesn't go enough. And he's stopped, he's just stopped having confidence in being able to do so. Does Ilya have any chance to be a champion in boxing? I've kind of just stopped doubting Ilya in general. It's very possible. Game plan, speed, and power are the most important things in MMA. And cardio, for sure. Because if you gas out, it doesn't matter how good your game plan or power is. Oracle being healthy, optimal for low cortisol. I appreciate it, valid. Do you think having a good jab or good calf kick is better? I would say jab. I'm good too, thanks for asking. No problem. What's your favorite thing to eat while watching UFC? Good question. Interesting question, I should say. Honestly, I usually just eat dinner while watching it, so there's no like specific thing. I used to like drinking whiskey during it, but since I've been more so analyzing, I haven't been drinking while watching anymore. Cody has mental block? Yeah, 100%. Dillashaw versus top 5 bantamweights today. I think he beats all even Jan. I think he could beat some of them, but I don't think he would beat Jan. I don't think he would beat Jan. I think Marab would be tough for him. I could see him beating Marab, but I don't think he would. Cody has gotten chinned for trying to KO guys. Now he's just conditioned to not throw to avoid getting chinned. Yeah, seems like it. That's a good explanation. Ilya gets cooked by Raleigh, let alone Haney and others. Honestly, after seeing like some of the champion fights be so low level in boxing, I almost think that Ilya has a decent shot if he does boxing full time. I love having good power, valid. Which Chimaev moves up, can Ilya become a quadruple champion? I think someone like Strickland's would be a bit of a top matchup for Ilya. Like, would I be shocked if like he fought an Imavov and could put him out? Maybe, but like it really depends on who he fights. Jai Herbert, most ruined career, schooled Klein on the feet, inactivity and chin have ruined him. He could have been something. Also, fighting Ilya wasn't great for him. Yeah, his career is weird because he's definitely better than his skills are better than his results would imply. Let's say, put it that way. Will we ever hear Damien's last name? Probably not. You like booze. I know your cologne is named after booze as well, the Apple one. I mean, I don't drink commonly, but I don't mind it when I do. But I probably do like once a month, maybe once every other month at times, in all honesty. Which boxer does well in MMA? I mean, a prime Lomachenko would have done well. Oracle, what fragrance do you wear? Apple brandy on the rocks. Fili would chin Mario Barrios. Yeah, probably. Prediction for Nickel versus Dawkins. I don't know, honestly. I have to do tape on that one. No boxer does well in MMA because they don't have grappling or any kicking defense. I mean, that's not none, right? We have seen certain boxers who have an expanded skill set. Like Crawford could wrestle. Loma, I believe, has some wrestling as well. Ilya can chin Haney, maybe. Oracle, how old are you? I don't put my age on here or any like overtly personal details like that. Could Nickel out wrestle Chimaev if he shot before Chimaev? I mean, could Nickel take down Chimaev? Yeah, it's very possible. But can he hold him down and like do any damage there? I don't think so. Triple G can wrestle, fair. Charles must hit hard because every time he landed, Holloway went wide-eyed. This Charles probably beats everyone partly, of course. Yeah, I mean, even Gaethje said Charles hit harder than anyone he'd ever fought before. I'd honestly pick Dawkins. He is way better on the feet, and I don't see him getting controlled. Fair. Very possible. Raleigh has a judo background, I'm pretty sure. Interesting. Would Usyk be top 10 in the UFC? As long as he fought a heavyweight, yeah. Oracle, what's your pin number? Valid. Dang, nice cologne choice. I like ombre leather. Valid. And thank you. Would current Nickel beat RDR? Probably. I think he would just wrestle him for 3 rounds and not pull the guillotine, because RDR has 0 takedown defense. My thoughts on Bryce versus Jean Silva in the upcoming submission match. Will Jean bark over him again? I think it probably just goes to a draw, because I don't really see either of them submitting the other in submission only. If someone is going to win, it's probably Silva, but I don't think it's going to happen. Oracle, what's your sin number? I don't think you can put a number to that, to be honest. Sorry, Oracle, wasn't sure whether you do corner work. If you do you remember a time where you gave corner advice and saw it play out in real time? How gratifying was that? I have not done corner work in a long time, and when I did it in the past, it was in Muay Thai, not MMA. But yeah, I mean, it was nice to see it play out well. Oracle, can you tell me your social security number? Might not be the best idea. Gaethje should have won that fight against Charles. He dropped him twice. I mean, couldn't finish though. What about Shara versus Barboza? Honestly, I might just take Barboza. Oh, it's a grappling match? Okay, yeah, then I'm definitely taking Barboza. Bryce Mitchell versus Oumar. It's a lot closer than you think. In pure grappling, or are we talking about MMA? In pure grappling, if there's decision involved, I might take Bryce to like edge out a decision. If it's submission only, I think it's going to draw. In MMA, Oumar should win, even though I'm not a fan of Oumar by any means. If Silva's about to lose, he might just KO Bryce. Valid. Oracle only likes few favorites since he has high standards. Valid. Oracle, what's the logging to your betting account? I honestly don't even remember. I have to like write it down and then enter it from that. Unironically, Ankalaev has an okay chance of beating Yuri, but I'd still favor Yuri. I don't think that Ankalaev has a chance of beating any of the top 5, to be honest, but maybe he's not as bad as I think he is. Oracle, how's the wife, bud? Luckily, I'm not that old yet. Alright, I'm gonna head out. Good luck on your picks and have a good one. Thank you. Have a good one as well. Gillian is goated though. Oracle, I suggest Zherzhov. I'm not sure how to say that, but Noxos. It's my favorite fragrance of all time. I'll check it out sometime. Thank you. Oracle, did you vote for Zorhan? I'm not even in New York City, so I'm in New York, but I'm not in New York City. Mukayev is grappling Armin too. Some weird matchups here. Is this real voice or has it been changed by computer? You sound like my friend. Interesting, but yeah, no, it's my real voice. I like niche houses like that too. My favorite perfumes are Marley. Fair. Silva versus Khabib, Dustin, and Arman. I mean, Dustin's the easiest matchup on there for sure. I think he could beat Arman also. Khabib would definitely beat Ankalaev would beat Roundtree. Yeah, that's probably true actually, especially in 5 rounds. Did you see Arman versus Giorgio wrestling match? I did not. I saw the highlights, so to speak. But yeah. How do you like, dislike Mandani? I mean, I'm not going to cover politics on here. I just hope obviously things go well. We'll see what happens. Like generally with politics, it's just I don't focus on the party. Whoever's just going to do good is ideal. Matchups made from first-time UFC viewer. Yeah, felt like it. I also suggest Zherzhov, Sento if you like pineapple and florals with them. Good musk, it's so good. I'll ask you again for suggestions later because I'm going to forget it all now. On a scale of 1 to 10, rate your striking, grappling, and physicality. Striking... We're talking about my peak or now? If we're talking about peak, I'm going to say my striking was like an 8.5. Yeah, maybe an 8. My grappling was like a 4. My physicality is like a 7.5 to an 8. We went from no personal questions to political questions in 2 minutes. Yeah. Yeah, definitely on the personal side. I can't say that name on YouTube or it flagged you. I will just say that. Thoughts on Milky Costa? I mean, he's good. Knocking out Ige for the first time was definitely an accomplishment. What's your opinion on the Weasel's analysis? I've never had the highest opinion of the Weasel. I feel like Arman was overreacting to things Giorgio is doing. It's very common in wrestling, and people defending Arman's crash out. It seemed like they never wrestled. Yeah, I mean, Arman overreacts to everything. That's just who Arman is, so I can't say I'm shocked either way. Diego Lopez versus Steve Garcia prediction. I'm leaning Garcia, but not sure yet. Which name, the president or the biggie? The latter. Thor just pulled out against Dariush. Who do you think should step in? Ziam. I'd love to see Ziam. I like that your channel is very professional and well kept, but you should scream a bit more, you know what I mean? Maybe I could show some more expression sometimes, but probably no screaming. Thoughts and prayers plan to denounce that in his post-fight speech if he wins. Whatever people want to do, they should do, right? I'm not going to get involved in that stuff. I think Fight Lab uploaded another video. Okay, yeah, so I'm a little annoyed there because Fight Lab like kind of just ripped off my video, and we know that he saw my video before he did it, so like it looks even worse. What's your opinion on MMA, Shay? He's a very different personality to I am, to say the least, but he seems like a decent guy. I mean, he helped me out once when I asked a question, so I appreciate that. Imavov versus DDP thoughts. I lean Imavov. It's a really close to a 50-50 one in my opinion. I'm mildly leaning DDP, but I'm not sure. I remember when Usman was a champ in 2022, Weasel didn't even have Lee on the top 5 hardest matchups for a welterweight. Funny one. That's ironic, yeah. Where are you guys seeing Torres pull out? Can we react to this video? Yeah, sure. I'll bring up the one where like I'm kind of annoyed because I feel like it was just pulled off of mine. So, as you guys could see, right? Like, literally the title of the video was basically my premise, right? And then we'll get into exactly like what this is here. Tell me if it's not loud enough for you guys.
This is what Charles Oliveira needs to do to knock out Max Holloway.
Use the first clip, same first clip as I did, by the way. But anyways, moving on.
Ilia Topuria feints a jab, which gets Max to parry, reaching out and shifting his weight on his back leg.
So at least that's a little bit different in terms of the setup discussion, right? He did discuss certain different things.
While pulling his head off the center line. Then Topuria follows with a lead hook, pulling down Holloway's lead hand as he throws the right cross. But that shouldn't really be a problem for Holloway, because it's his left arm that's normally responsible for defending the right cross, and it was completely free. He even tried to reach out and block it, but Topuria's right hand wrapped around it. So why did this one land when many others earlier in the fight didn't?
So it's like, right, it's quote unquote allowed, right? I guess I just have a different like ethical type of code in terms of analysis, where I don't look at other people's analysis and then just rip it off. I just feel like that is not morally correct, because you're not putting in the effort to find your own read there. And the original person who found this stuff did not make the connection, or you didn't make the connection to them, so they don't benefit from it. But yeah, we'll play this out. Is Violem Jewish? I don't know, man.
The problem was Holloway's footwork. Instead of shuffling backward to create space, he pivoted. That allowed Topuria to close in faster than Holloway could back out, and also squared Holloway's stance, making him a much more vulnerable target.
So, like, again, this is exactly what I was saying, right? That he circles out. He just used different words to say it.
But why would Max pivot if it makes him more vulnerable to the right hand? It's because pivoting changes his stance and lets him break off to his left, which means that Oliveira can trigger that same reaction by attacking Holloway's right side. The lead hook is a good option, but it won't work every time. What really created this reaction was Topuria closing distance quickly.
And then, again, I pretty much showed this exact same graphic where, again, I feel like I did a better job at it, but where he just basically closes distance a lot faster when he starts landing
effectively cutting him off from that side and forcing him to pivot and break to his left.
So I feel like at least he changed it so that he wasn't saying the exact same things I was, but like it was very clearly inspired from mine, which I personally find annoying. People can say it's fine, whatever, that's up to your judgment. But yeah, I don't know. I was not the biggest fan of that. You should show your video now just to show similarity. Yeah, sure. Let me bring that up. I have to log into. Give me a sec. Oh my god. Instagram's making me verify my login. Sorry, give me a moment. Alright, I think we should be good now. Instagram's web interface is so garbage, I have to wait until it goes to the end now and then restart afterwards. Alright, let me just answer questions until I get it up. Are we going to get a YouTube video anytime soon? When I can stop working on products, then it will be easier. It's tough right now. Remember when Fight Lab crashed out because John jumped off Alan's back? He said, if you guys want to do this stuff, check out WOWA. I did not know he said that, but whatever. Fight Lab forgot to mention how Max forgot to balance on his third leg. Balance. Alright, there we go. Okay. Now you guys should hopefully be able to see if this isn't stupid. Alright. This is mine.
Needs to fix his tendency before it gets him knocked out again. Holloway uses footwork.
So, obviously, first same clip, but like fine. A lot of people use that clip. It is what it is.
footwork and specifically circling as his main defense against combinations. When he sees a strike coming, he starts to circle in the opposite direction.
So same discussion regarding him circling, squaring up and then circling out in the opposite direction if he's starting to get hit.
Away from the follow-up strike, then gets back to open space. He added circling to his game in large part because he used to get hurt moving straight backwards away from combinations. However, Topuria read how to exploit the predictable circling. First, Topuria shuffled forwards with Holloway mid-combination to keep the space contained, then intercepted his circling with the hook. Watch how Topuria moves to create the knockout sequence. Topuria shuffles his back foot forwards while taking a lunging step to cover maximum distance while baiting Holloway to circle away from the lead hook feint. He then follows up with a full power overhand, once again intercepting Holloway's circling. Oliveira has punished reckless circling before, so if Max circles blindly again, he could run right into a finish.
But yeah, anyways, you guys probably get what I mean in terms of it being overtly just what I was saying repackaged mildly. Oracle, I just realized how the JPL vid did great things for your account, like the way more views lately, you should try to get a hold of more smaller MMA fighters, and if they have a duo post to you, it's good. Yeah, I agree. Barcelos versus Montel? Probably Montel. I just steal your vids and repost them, no need to go through all the work, yeah. I mean, you would be shocked how many people have tried to do that. I've definitely gotten more strict about just copyright striking people immediately. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of ridiculous. If Max gets stronger, can he beat Charles? No, there was just a style discrepancy there. And skills lacking in Max's like ability to defend body lock takedowns. Maybe Fight Lab is inspired by you. Yeah, I mean, I know he saw that video, and then he made that one afterwards, so, like, inspiration, imitation, whatever you want to call it. It is just... What if he grows a fourth leg to balance on? Maybe he can win. Valid. Yeah. I just do not believe that analysis content creators should do that unless they reference the primary person who did it, right? If you're adding some stuff, and you're like, oh, this reel was inspired by this person's reel. Okay, fair play then, right? If you add something and then reference where you got the rest from, cool. I just don't think that adding nothing and then just repackaging it is at all moral. Tell everyone how Marab will dominate Yon next time. I've talked about that one before. We'll see what happens, especially with what John Wood was saying. I'm pretty sure will happen. You can't analyze an analysis and then call it your own. Yeah, exactly. It's just is dumb. Oracle, words are wind. Let's send a message to him in person. I don't think anyone knows where anyone even is in person. Not that confronting people in person for online stuff is even a good idea. Oracle versus Fight Lab and grappling match. If I was going to do something, I'd do Muay Thai. Do you think Charles would have knocked out Max if he just dropped grappling round 3/4? Yeah, probably, in all honesty. Early thoughts on Choi versus Lima. Sorry, which Choi is it again? Is it Sungwoo Choi? If it's Sungwoo Choi, he's probably screwed, to be honest. We will let it slide for Oracle. Appreciated, yeah. I don't know, content creation space is really weird. People don't exactly have ethics most of the time, to say the least. Oracle, how would you game plan to beat Fight Lab, and would his ability to balance on the third leg give you problems? I don't think I could even game plan not knowing his style, but valid. Road to UFC Season 3 flyweight winner. Oh, flyweight. I'd have to look at it then, I'm not sure. Markle, we should raid the Apex affair. And do you own guns? Leaning on the personal question side again. Does Fight Lab have martial arts experience? I have no idea, to be honest. Jose Aldo or Ilya? Probably Ilya. Alright, I'll do one more promo and then I can stop doing that for the night. If you guys are betting this weekend or on UFC in general, please do consider joining my betting service. We did just on the base algorithm over 250 units in profit last year. And that's not even counting the other algorithms, my reads, and the fact that I constantly add tools and more algorithms to the system. It's only $25 a month. Link is in the description here. Always feel free to DM me on Instagram if you have questions about it. Anyone in history who is a featherweight or lightweight you would pick to beat Ilya? Prime Connor. If Ilya and Charles were attacking you, pick two fighters from around their size to defend you. From any time? Again, I think Connor's a bad matchup for both of them. So Prime Connor. And maybe Khabib just to stall. Gamrot versus Khabib in a 3-rounder. I think Khabib would just have the slightly bigger moments on the feet, but I don't think that Khabib would get any ground control against Gamrot, honestly. Khabib would eat Islam, right? Yeah, I think so. Alright guys, we are probably going to wrap up here. I appreciate you guys coming today. If you guys are betting on Saturday, best of luck to that. Do consider joining my betting service as well. Thank you all for coming again. I hope you all have a good night, and I will see you guys next time.